In a dimly lit school hallway, Seo Shin, a curious female student with a sense of adventure, strolled through the quiet corridors, her eyes darting around to take in every detail. The faint hum of fluorescent lights above cast eerie shadows on the walls, creating an atmosphere that made her heart race. But what really caught her attention was the peculiar sight outside the window, an upside-down girl suspended in the air, her disheveled hair swaying like dark tendrils, and her pale face bearing an unsettling resemblance to a zombie. As Seo approached the window, her curiosity pulled her closer, and she found herself gazing into the lifeless eyes of the zombie-like entity. "You're not the one," the entity whispered, sending shivers down Seo's spine. She couldn't help but wonder about the mysterious meaning behind those words. With a sigh, she glanced at her watch. It displayed the unearthly hour of 2:36 a.m. Seo realized that she had just stumbled upon a paranormal event, something beyond the ordinary. The spirit before her was no stranger. She recognized it as Falling Ju-hyun, a name she had heard in whispers among the students. From her shirt pocket, Seo retrieved a talisman, a small paper amulet with mystical powers. Preparing to follow the first rule of the Paranormal Activity Disposal Unit, with determined precision, she slapped 4 talismans against the wall, and a blinding light radiated from them, seeming to exorcise the entity that had captured her attention. As she completed her task, a fellow student named Uman emerged from the shadows, observing her in silence. It became clear to him that Seo was no ordinary student. She was a ghost hunter, a revelation that left Uman in awe and curiosity. Uman, a quiet and unassuming classmate of Seo's, had a secret of his own. He was no ordinary student either. He was a ghost in disguise as a human. The realization that Seo possessed such expertise in ghost hunting made Uman's romantic dreams seem distant and uncertain. The following day, fate played a cruel trick on Uman as he found himself partnered with Seo in class. Nearby, 2 students engaged in a conversation about Ju-hyun's tragic suicide and the rumors surrounding her lingering spirit. Ji-hui, a student who had tormented Ju-hyun during her lifetime, scoffed at the tales of a vengeful spirit. When one of the students suggested that Ju-hyun's restless spirit might hold a grudge against Ji-hui, the suggestion earned a sharp slap in return. Seo, who had been discreetly listening to the conversation, decided to communicate with Ju-hyun's spirit through a piece of paper. She wrote a question, inquiring if avenging Ju-hyun by punishing Ji-hui would allow the troubled spirit to find peace. To Uman's surprise, the answer from Ju-hyun's spirit was affirmative, setting in motion a chain of events neither of them could have predicted. That evening, as Ji-hui departed from her friends, a classmate cautioned her against walking past the haunted school. Ji-hui's irritation flared up once more, resulting in another slap. However, as she confidently strode by the school, Seo blocked her path, insisting that Ju-hyun wished to speak with her. Ji-hui tried to intimidate Seo, accusing her of spreading ghost stories, but her bravado quickly crumbled as Seo effortlessly overpowered her, revealing a strength that took Ji-hui by surprise. From his vantage point inside the school, Uman watched the confrontation unfold, his heart heavy with worry. He silently beseeched Ju-hyun's spirit to rid them of both adversaries. However, his plea took an unexpected turn when Seo, dragging Ji-hui's battered form, discovered him conversing with the spectral figure. With dawning realization, Seo began to suspect Uman's ghostly nature, and a fearful Uman began to question if his tale was ever destined to be a romance. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. In which Manhwa world would you like to live, and why? Or would you prefer to stay in reality? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now back to the recap. To ascertain whether Uman was indeed a ghost, Seo quickly placed a talisman on his chest. The talisman began to work its magic on him, just as it did with other spirits, confirming Seo's suspicion. The talisman's purpose was to send Uman away, and Seo hoped that he would find peace. But before she could complete her task, she handed Ji-hui's lifeless body over to Ju-hyun's ghost, thinking this would also make her go away. However, Uman urgently warned Seo about a trap Ju-hyun had set. When Ji-hui continued to mock Ju-hyun, the vengeful spirit used her spectral arms to pull her in. Seo realized that Uman had tried to warn her and save Ji-hui from a terrible fate. She desperately broke the talisman, but Uman, filled with fear, ran off before she could speak to him. The next day, Uman confided in his friend Yeha, explaining that Seo now knew his secret. Yeha, not particularly interested in the supernatural, finally suggested a solution inspired by a story she had read: confess his feelings to survive. In the book she referred to, a boy had to tell 2 girls that he liked them to stay alive, setting in motion a series of events that would forever change their lives. Yeha's advice weighed heavily on Uman's mind, stirring up painful memories that he had long tried to bury. He had been lingering on Earth, unable to move on, all because he held on to the hope of reuniting with his beloved Mi-hyung. Their love had been tragically cut short, with Mi-hyung passing away in his embrace. Rumors whispered that Mi-hyung's spirit might soon wander the school's halls, so Umin remained steadfast, unwilling to offer his heart to another, even though he longed for human connection. At school, Umin made an effort to befriend Seo, but she surprised him by passing him a note that asked him to meet her at the school gate at 10 p.m. His initial thought was that she wanted to confront him, perhaps even fight him. He turned to Yeha for advice once again, and she suggested that he should get rid of Seo. But Umin had made a promise to himself never to hurt anyone again, a promise that still held a powerful sway over him. Yeha reminded him that if he disappeared, he wouldn't be able to see Mi-hyung, further complicating his decision. Ultimately, Umin decided to face Seo and meet her as she had requested. When she arrived, she surprised him with a question that caught him off guard. Seo asked if he had been at school the night before to help her. To Umin's astonishment, she seemed to think that he liked her. Nearby, Yeha, hiding and eavesdropping, was equally taken aback by this unexpected turn of events. Umin didn't want to forget Mi-hyung, but in that moment, he made a difficult choice. He told Seo a white lie, admitting that he had liked her since they first met. After his confession, Umin found himself reflecting on the moment he realized that the person he had been waiting for, Mi-hyung, would come to the school again. On the school roof, while lying beside Yeha, she teased him about his fake confession to Seo, provoking annoyance in him. He reminded her that it was her idea in the first place. As he contemplated the risks of their unusual relationship, a ghost dating a ghost hunter, he couldn't shake the memory of Seo's unsettling acceptance of his confession. The fear gnawed at him, making him question if she was dating him merely to get close and then kill him unexpectedly. Yeha, on the other hand, dismissed his worries, playfully joking about his lack of understanding in matters of romance. Meanwhile, Seo was engrossed in Umin's Instagram, lingering on his photos. Suddenly, a tall figure appeared behind her, her father, the captain of the ghost hunting organization. He had been keeping a close eye on her. Before she could report anything, he asked if the boy on the screen was her boyfriend. Seo confirmed it, but her father seemed disappointed. He questioned her recent changes, but she countered, expressing her desire to feel like a normal person and fit in. Unbeknownst to her father, she was dating a ghost. The next morning, as Umin and Yeha headed to school, they made a show of acting as if they didn't actually live together on the same roof. However, Seo suddenly appeared, and upon seeing Umin, she quickened her pace to reach him. Unexpectedly, she threw a talisman at him, scolding him for not walking her to school like a typical boyfriend. Umin countered that he would need to know her address to do that, to which Seo conceded with a smile, deepening the complexity of their relationship. As Seo began to walk away, Umin caught up with her, and she insisted that they walk to school together from now on. He agreed, their steps falling into rhythm as they headed towards their shared destination. However, unbeknownst to them, another ghost hunter agent had been observing them. The agent recognized Seo as Agent Shin and swiftly reported Umin's presence to her father, the captain of the ghost hunting organization. Upon reviewing Umin's records and discovering inconsistencies, the captain deemed it necessary to launch a thorough investigation. If Umin was determined to be a threat, the agent had explicit orders to eliminate him. Almost instantly, Umin found himself blacklisted. All agents were notified of the situation. Only a few days after Jihui's mysterious disappearance, a sharply dressed man arrived at the school, accompanied by the agent assigned to monitor Umin. The man introduced himself as Min-jae Kim and claimed to be Jihui's replacement, asserting that she had transferred elsewhere. On the school field, Umin and Yeha observed Seo using her paranormal powers excessively during a handball game. Fear crept into Umin's thoughts as he couldn't help but wonder if Seo might one day turn her powers against him. Yeha, however, provided reassurance, insisting that Seo was head over heels for him. Their conversation was abruptly interrupted by Min-jae's unexpected appearance. He attempted to assert dominance over Umin, causing Yeha to bristle with anger. Before she could come to Umin's defense, Seo confronted Min-jae, questioning his presence. However, Min-jae evaded her inquiries, deliberately brushing past Umin. With a smug demeanor, he inquired about Umin being her boyfriend. Initially, Umin denied it, but under the fiery glare of Seo, he nervously admitted the truth. Min-jae expressed surprise at her choice, and Umin awkwardly mentioned how quickly she had accepted his feelings. Annoyed by Min-jae's presence, Seo made it clear that they were done and practically dragged Umin away. Once they were out of earshot, Yeha took the opportunity to warn Min-jae against bothering Umin. Unfazed, Min-jae suggested that she be friendlier and hinted that they should get to know each other better before departing. Later, on the school's rooftop, Yeha shared her concerns with Umin. She found it suspicious that another student familiar with Seo had transferred to their school so soon after Umin began dating her. She was convinced that Seo wasn't acting alone. Umin then revealed that he overheard Seo mentioning her affiliation with the Paranormal Activity Disposal Unit, PADU. Yeha reacted with a slap, chiding him for withholding this crucial information. Yeha went on to explain that groups like PADU had existed for ages, comprised of individuals with various abilities like seances, exorcists, and mediums, all united by a singular goal: to battle ghosts ghosts. Recognizing the imminent threat, Yeha proposed a plan. They needed to act first, rallying other ghosts to confront the ghost hunters and eliminate Seo. Elsewhere, Min-jae gazed at an old photo of himself with Seo, reflecting on their earlier interaction. Although she had moved on, it was clear that he hadn't. With a determined and steely gaze, he muttered that he was far from finished with her. In another part of the school, Hyeon-shik Kim contemplated his life, feeling dissatisfied. He believed he should be the class clown, but his classmates didn't see him that way. Despite having the most liked comments and posts that became memes, they viewed him as pathetic and teased him at every opportunity. One day at school, Hyeon-shik overheard classmates laughing at what he considered a lackluster joke. He grew increasingly frustrated by what he saw as subpar comedic standards and felt that the girl who had told the joke was only considered funny because of her good looks. His quest for recognition and humor would take him down an unexpected path. Hyeon-shik's brooding thoughts were abruptly interrupted when Yeha approached him and playfully labeled him as the prey. Naturally puzzled, he was about to ask her about it, but before he could, Yeha vanished into thin air. Simultaneously, a chameleon descended a nearby window pane, its watchful eyes fixed on him. The following day, as Hyeon-shik prepared for school, he couldn't help but notice an unusual number of chameleons trailing him. Upon arriving at school, he was taken aback by his classmates' sudden change in demeanor. To his surprise, they found him uproariously funny, and he didn't question it for a moment. Basking in the newfound attention, he felt like this was how life should have always been. Even the most attractive girl in his class beckoned him to sit beside her. The euphoria he experienced felt surreal, and as it turned out, it was indeed a dreamlike illusion. Two chameleons rested on his eyes, hidden from his view. Yeha revealed to Umin that the chameleons first created an idyllic world for their target, letting them get lost in the hallucination. Subsequently, the primary chameleon, known as Vanity, would swallow the ensnared prey. As Hyeon-shik began to awaken from the dream, just moments before being consumed by the spirit, he reflected on his lackluster life, feeling somewhat resigned. Once Hyeon-shik was devoured by Vanity, Yeha informed Umin of her plan to use the chameleon to eliminate Seo. She needed Umin to make sure Seo fell for the trap, and afterward, Vanity would take over to finish the job. Yeha laid out the plan for Umin, explaining that his main task was to keep Seo's attention solely on him during their walk to school, allowing Vanity's chameleons to survey the surroundings and craft the illusion. Umin voiced his concerns about getting ensnared in the hallucination, but Yeha reassured him. She explained that even if he did fall into the illusion, he would recognize it for what it was. Moreover, Vanity's primary targets were humans, so he would remain unharmed. Following the plan to the letter, Umin ensured that Seo remained oblivious to the chameleon's presence during their journey to school. Earlier, Yeha had playfully hinted that Umin might be curious about the nature of Seo's dream world, which had led him to certain dark assumptions about it. He wasn't eager to be part of the unfolding plan, yet to his astonishment, upon reaching the school, everything appeared as usual. The only noticeable difference was Seo's heightened affection, as she urged him to sit by her side, reminiscing about her previous night. Confused by the unanticipated nature of the illusion, he had envisioned a much more violent hallucination. Umin navigated through a seemingly typical school day, with Seo attending classes, mingling with friends, and fretting over exams. However, something felt off. In this imagined world, Seo wasn't a ghost hunter. It slowly dawned on Umin that Seo's heart's desire might be a life free from the burdens of ghost hunting. His mind wandered back to his past life, where he and his beloved Mi-hyung stood together in a tranquil field. Mi-hyung had once expressed a similar wish for an ordinary, peaceful life, a wish that now seemed to resonate with Seo's deepest desires. As Umin's memories faded and he returned to the present moment, he sensed a presence behind him. Turning around, he recognized the figure as Vanity. Desperately, Umin pleaded with Vanity to end this illusory world, but to his horror, Vanity transformed into a drooling chameleon, its hungry eyes fixed on Umin. Without warning, Vanity devoured him. Confused as to why Vanity was attempting to consume him, Umin pleaded with the chameleon to stop, but his pleas fell on deaf ears. He called out to Yeha, but she, being in the real world, remained out of reach. Amidst the struggle, Umin heard Seo's terrified screams upon spotting the ghostly chameleon. An epiphany struck him. In this hallucination, Seo wasn't a ghost hunter, and consequently she remained unaware of the ghostly realm. And if Seo was ignorant of ghosts in this illusion, then she perceived Umin not as a ghost, but as a living human, making him potential prey for Vanity. As Vanity tightened its grip, the chameleon seemed to detect the ghostly essence in Umin and grew intrigued by this unique flavor. In a desperate bid to break free, Umin informed Seo that she was caught in an illusion, urging her to break its hold. Suddenly, their surroundings morphed, plunging them into another fragment of Seo's subconscious. Though Vanity was momentarily absent, their new environment was unfamiliar to Umin. Through a window, Seo spotted her mother and cried out in horror, warning her to flee, but it was in vain. An ominous creature materialized behind her mother and ended her life. Grief-stricken and overwhelmed, Seo started spiraling deeper into the labyrinth of her traumatic past. Realizing the dangers of being ensnared in these memories, the especially with vanity in pursuit. Umin desperately tried to jolt Seo back to reality. As a last resort, he revealed her true identity as a ghost hunter. This confession triggered a harrowing memory of her father, causing Seo to recoil in distress. Just as vanity swooped in to seize Umin once more, something shifted. Umin's ghostly essence resurfaced in full force, repelling the chameleon. Simultaneously, the potency of Seo's hallucinations began to wane. After Seo regained her senses from the hallucination, an irate Umin confronted vanity, threatening to kill him despite his vow of non-violence. The colossal chameleon pleaded with Umin, insisting he had made an error. However, before Umin could act, Seo swiftly affixed a talisman to vanity's back, immobilizing him. Perplexed, Umin questioned her actions. She retorted, mentioning his recent attempt to use vanity's illusion against her. She disclosed that this was an age-old trick that ghosts employed against her kind, and that evading such illusions was a foundational skill for ghost hunters. For Seo, the sight of her father's face was a surefire way to jolt her back to reality, acting as a safeguard against such deceptions. With Umin defenseless, Seo curiously pondered aloud why he hadn't shifted to his ghost form, a question that hung in the air with uncertainty. As an experiment, Seo decided to slap another talisman onto Umin. However, when no transformation ensued, she pressed him for his true identity. Umin cryptically suggested that she might not wish to discover the truth. Determined to uncover the mystery, Seo contemplated leaving Umin at the mercy of vanity, who was gearing up to feast on him. Umin pleaded for assistance, but she retorted that he should fend for himself, especially if he continued to be secretive. In a desperate move, Umin promised to do anything she demanded. Reacting swiftly, Seo hurled a talisman at vanity's tongue, dispelling the monstrous chameleon and saving Umin from a gruesome fate. Once Umin was safe, Seo, with a playful smirk, reminded him of his vow to cater to her whims. Meanwhile, at school, Yeha grew anxious about Umin's prolonged absence. Her thoughts were shattered when the teacher introduced a new face to the class, her newfound nemesis, Minjae Kim. Without missing a beat, Minjae attempted to provoke Yeha, who retaliated with equal vigor. When he inquired about Seo's location, she quipped that they were no longer on the same side, clearly trying to rile him up. Suddenly, a classmate reported seeing Seo and Umin approaching the school. Both Yeha and Minjae, in a frenzy, made their way out to greet them, only to be taken aback by the shocking revelation. Umin and Seo had planned a date. After the shocking revelation, Minjae chased Seo as she rushed into the school to get away from him. Eventually, he caught up to her and grabbed her hand, looking concerned. He asked her why she had changed, and was even willing to violate their organization's policy over a boy. He demanded to know what was so special about Umin, but she just broke free from his grip. At this point, he was forced to reveal why he had come to the school. He told her that she had been placed under surveillance for violating protocol and breaking their rules. As a result, he had been assigned to keep tabs on her and investigate the threat, which happened to be Umin. Minjae explained that he had been tasked with examining Umin to determine if he posed a danger to the Puda. Meanwhile, Yeha scolded Umin for making date plans with the enemy when he was supposed to kill her. The poor ghost was exhausted at this point, and Yeha surmised that they would keep getting hunted the longer the relationship lasted. Just when she was about to suggest that he break up with Seo, Yeha came up with a better idea. She suggested that he take her on the worst possible date, which would force Seo to break up with him. Umin agreed to the plan, and Yeha wore a smug look as she took him to pick out the most terrible outfit he could wear to a date. The next day, Umin was out dressed in a color riot, wearing orange shades, green clothes, and a black bag. Yeha watched from the shadows, feeling proud of her idea. Then she spotted Minjae walking among the crowd. She criticized his terrible tailing tactics and prided herself on being a master of camouflage. However, he also spotted her with ease, and let's just say they had similar opinions about each other. Suddenly, a girl, better disguised than both of them, passed them and rushed to Umin. That's when they realized it was Seo. Umin didn't even recognize her at first, but before they could exchange any pleasantries, she dragged him away from the prying eyes, leaving the two third-wheel spies stunned. The two rivals were forced to work together for once, so they chased after the lovebirds. Seo dragged Umin into an alley to get the third wheels off their tail, and while he was still confused by her outfit, she suddenly took off her jacket and asked him to change into matching hoodies with her, claiming that she had always wanted to wear couple clothes with her boyfriend. Umin agreed to wear the hoodie, and Seo dragged him out of the alley to evade Minjae and Yeha again. Umin mentally begged Yeha to at least sense his presence, but she didn't, making him wonder how she was even a ghost. When they got back on the streets, Seo asked him what plans he had for their date, but he remembered his plan with Yeha to sabotage the date, so he told her that he didn't make any plans. Instead of getting upset, Seo just said it was fine, and revealed that she made plans of her own. First, she took him to a coffee shop. Following the instructions Yeha gave him the night before, Umin immediately admitted he didn't have any money, hoping she would view him as unworthy. However, Seo had no issues with that, and offered to pay for everything, claiming she was rich. She then ordered 2 chestnut lattes for both of them, and Umin was shocked that she knew he liked it. Outside, they sipped the lattes without saying a word, so Seo finally broke the silence by telling him to ask her something. Umin nervously asked what she liked, and she started by telling him she liked him, which took him by surprise. Seo continued to share the things she liked with Umin, including chestnut lattes, amusement park rides, and movies. She revealed that she liked a lot of things, but rarely got to do them, so today was an exciting day for her because she would get to do some of them with him. On that note, she took him to bucket list item number 2, which was watching a movie with her boyfriend. Umin found it odd that she was so excited to do all these things with him, despite their conflicting natures. Nevertheless, she took him to the theater where they watched a scary movie. Considering their everyday lives filled with actual ghosts and paranormal activity, they found the movie quite boring, even though other viewers went on and on about how scary it was. After the movie, Umin looked at the sunset and was glad that the day would soon be over. He thought to himself about how the date was finally coming to an end when Seo interrupted his thoughts by thanking him. He was taken aback because he didn't remember doing anything for her throughout the day, but she thanked him for doing some of the things she had always wanted to try with her. He sheepishly said it was no problem, but then she told him that there was one more item on her bucket list, for her boyfriend to get her ice cream. Upon hearing this, Umin deduced that she had copied all the date plans from the same romance comic Yeha was obsessed with. Regardless, he agreed to get the ice cream, grumbling all the way. However, on his way back with the ice cream cones, he was confronted by a chicken mascot costume, which happened to be a ghost that ended up eating him. Meanwhile, Seo waited longingly in the streets for her boyfriend to return with the ice cream, feeling like he had ditched her. While Seo waited, Minjae and Yeha spied on her from an alley. It had been 40 minutes since Umin had left, and Minjae was starting to get furious that he was keeping Seo waiting. Yeha, on the other hand, was very proud of him because she believed he was just taking her advice and making the date as terrible as possible for Seo. Eventually, Minjae got fed up and decided that he was going to find Umin. Yeha asked him where he was going, but he just told her to wait there, not letting her know that he planned to kill Umin when he found him. The moment he left, Seo appeared in front of Yeha and jump-scared her. As Seo and Yeha continued their conversation, Seo revealed that she had known they had been spying on her and just wanted Minjae to leave so she could talk to Yeha alone. She began to suspect that Yeha was also a ghost because she was always with Umin. Yeha initially denied it, but when Seo placed a talisman on her body to confirm her suspicions, it had the same effect it did on Umin, and Yeha became certain that Seo was a ghost. Seo then asked Yeha to help her find Umin using telepathy, but Yeha refused and instead tried to provoke Seo into breaking up with Umin. Seo didn't fall for Yeha's tricks, and Yeha kept insisting that she end their love story right then. In response, Seo made Yeha realize that Umin wasn't the kind of ghost to easily abandon someone, and she reminded Yeha of how devastated he had been when Mi Hyang died. Yeha agreed with Seo's hunch that something bad might have happened to him, so she told her she would help find him. After Seo deactivated the talisman, Yeha scanned the area in search of Umin and found him. She heard him calling out to her and tried to tell her his location, but at the same time, Minjae passed by the mascot and heard the ghost whispers. It turned out that Minjae could also hear ghosts talking. The bitter ghost hunter brought out a small cross to disrupt the communication between Yeha and Umin before preparing to confront the mascot to deal with the ghost inside. When Yeha discovered that she could no longer communicate with Umin, she immediately suspected that Minjae was behind it and alerted Seo. Eager to prevent Minjae from discovering that Umin was also a ghost, Seo rushed to their location to rescue her boyfriend. Meanwhile, Minjae confronted the ghost inside the mascot, brandishing the cross, and forced it into an alley where he intended to destroy it. As Minjae used the cross to command the ghost to reveal its true form, several giant limbs erupted from the mascot, restraining Umin within. When Minjae saw Umin, he was shocked, and Seo arrived at the scene, hoping to make sure that her fellow agent didn't find out Umin's secrets. The ghost attempted to attack them, but Seo used a talisman on it, and Minjae stopped it using his cross. However, she noticed that Umin was still trapped in the mascot. Despite attacking it with the talisman, the ghost continued to put up a fight, and Seo realized that Umin had also been hurt by the talisman. Umin, who didn't want Minjae to find out he was a ghost, refused to break free using his powers, so Seo decided to save him herself with her bare hands. She charged at the ghost and attempted to pull Umin out of the mascot, but the giant limbs pushed her back. Minjae caught her and grabbed her hand before she could try again. He told her that she had to let Umin go because he now knew that they were ghost hunters, and he claimed that Umin was now a threat to Pa Diyu. He begged her to come back to her former life because he was tired of defending her before the captain, but Seo just got mad and pulled her hand out of his grasp. The ghost attempted to escape, but Seo went after it while Minjae sat on the floor, regretting what he had said. Seo held on tight even as the ghost leaped into the air, and Umin told her to go back. She declined his request to use a talisman, not wanting him to get hurt, which prompted Umin to reminisce about all the times Seo had chosen to be with him, despite his ghostly nature. Just then, the evil ghost pushed Seo, and she plummeted plummeted down. Seeing this, Umin became enraged and transformed into his true form to save her. After tearing his way out of the evil spirit, he caught Seo midair and finally asked her the question he had been wanting to ask. Why did she accept his confession? Meanwhile, in the alley where the fight began, an ominous hooded figure reported back to their superior, stating that they had found the bear who had his fortune read twice, the snake who couldn't fly, and the rat that got away. Before we continue, let's take a moment to shout out Era Ara Simp, who commented, "Power to control probabilities" on our unordinary video. Thanks for commenting. Umin and Seo landed on top of a roof, and Yeha and Minjae watched them in awe from below. Minjae, feeling like he had blown his last chance with Seo, left the scene disappointed. Yeha, who already knows that Umin is in love with Seo, comes up with a convenient plan that she can use to her advantage, hoping to finally end the ghost and ghost hunter's love story. Meanwhile, on the streets, Seo seems down, and Umin breaks the silence by thanking her. He also asks why she saved him, and she tells him that it's because she's his girlfriend. Umin understands this, but decides to ask her again why she actually accepted his confession and agreed to date him. She tells him that it's because she likes him, but Umin points out that he's a ghost, wondering why she would like him. Seo then reminds him of the first time he saved her in the school, and Umin laughs nervously at the memory, claiming that it wasn't a big deal. She deduces that he was the one who secretly ran away after finding out she is a PIDU agent. He tries to deny it, but she brings out another talisman, so he claims that he was just passing by. Seo admits to him that she had hoped to experience dating, but life for PIDU agents is challenging. They must keep their distance from others to avoid drawing loved ones into their perilous world of ghosts. Moreover, PIDU agents are prohibited from having social media or forming deep connections with anyone. Seo explains some of the things she had to sacrifice and why she accepted his confession. She knows she can't fall in love with a human because she'd end up making their life miserable with hers. So that's why she agreed to date him, because he's already a ghost, and she can't make his life any more miserable. After listening to her, Umin laughs again, because he believes that if anyone were to get their lives messed up in the relationship, it wouldn't be him. In his experience, whenever ghosts and humans fall in love, the human always suffers. He remembers his love, Mi-hyung, and decides that he needs to end things with Seo as soon as possible, because he knows it can't have a happy ending. Umin thanks Seo for answering him, and as they walk down the streets together, she thinks to herself, and wonders if Umin will ever remember the first time he saved her. One day, Yeha attends a comic signing event for her favorite comic, Fatal Attraction. She stands in line, eagerly waiting for her turn so that the author can sign her book. Suddenly, a young lady walks past her, clicking a pen all the while. Yeha is confused at first, but then realizes that she's actually cutting the line to get her comic signed first. Annoyed, Yeha confronts the audacious woman. Instead of responding, the woman simply turns to face Yeha and resumes her pen clicking, leaving Yeha in a renewed state of bafflement. However, she quickly deduces that the lady is using hypnosis on the other humans, and that's why nobody said a word when she cut the line. Unfortunately for the mysterious girl, Yeha is a ghost, and hypnosis doesn't work on her. She's certain that the girl isn't a ghost, so she's surprised that she can use the skill so effectively. Yeha thinks that the girl and her hypnosis can come in handy, so she asks the girl to be her friend. Not surprisingly, the girl is skeptical, but their little conversation is interrupted by the author, asking if they want her signature, so the two fans quickly grab the opportunity. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps.